disturbing video of a mother attacked while pushing her baby in a stroller in the Kingsbridge Heights section of the Bronx. This happened yesterday afternoon along Sedgwick Avenue. Police say the victim's ex-boyfriend placed her in a chokehold before dragging the mother and the stroller to the ground. She also has multiple stab wounds as well. Both mother and child are in stable condition at St. Barnabas Hospital. The suspect is
it's always rough to see a victim, an innocent person being attacked, even more so when weapons are involved, such as knives, this woman being stabbed. But even the worst of the worst is when women and children are involved, and seeing a mother with her child, I presume it's this man's child. It's hard in a situation like this. It's hard as well because we can't really see how he's approaching, whether walking together, did he come up from behind her, or did she see him and kind of ignored him and walked by him? The reason why is because when I'm sure she knows that he's not stable, that's presumably why he's her ex-boyfriend. But if she doesn't see that he's approaching, if he was hiding, or if he's coming from behind and then kind of circling around before he attacks, it's very, very difficult to foresee anything like that. And again, with a knife, you can see he goes to stab right away. The most important thing to do is just to try to turn and face your attacker. She survived, so she was able to either fight him off or if he stopped fighting. But it's really, really difficult when it comes to surprise attacks. That's why awareness is so important. And look around you when you walk. Again, if someone comes up from behind, it's going to be tough. The most important thing when it comes to knowing that you potentially have someone who's not stable in your life that might come after you, every 2 hours someone is killed by a boyfriend, husband, or ex. So it's important to then perhaps always walk with someone and be extra alert. Have someone that is kind of, walking slightly behind and looking out for you, almost like a personal bodyguard. If you can't afford one, make a friend one. And awareness.
And police are searching for the man seen in this surveillance video attacking a woman in an elevator in Harlem. This happened inside the 125th Street and Lexington Avenue subway station on November 1st. The man is seen punching the victim several times until she falls to the ground. He then drags her by her feet, and that's when police say he stole $50 in cash from her. If you recognize the suspect in the surveillance video, please call Crime Stoppers at 800-577-TIPS.
It's very, very difficult. It's a big, strong man. And you can tell it's not the first time he's throwing a punch. He's punched before. He's used aggression before. If you look at the woman, the victim, you see her putting her hands out straight to try to keep him away. But because his arms are longer than hers, this isn't going to do enough. And he can almost like throw an overhand over her hands and very easily hit her face. So one is to turn your back so you're facing your attacker so he's not to the side. Draw that line and understand, you want to keep a distance between you and your attacker, but don't keep your arms straight. You can push if you have to, right? And be willing to strike yourself, which takes training, of course. But if your hands are right here, you can't defend your head that's back here. So keep your hands up. Once she's on her back and she's being dragged by her leg, there's an axe kick you can do from the ground. And of course, when you're in a confined space, such as an elevator, it's very difficult to get out and get past the attacker who's blocking the doorway. But if you can, is to fight your way out of that elevator to try to get to the outside where you can use space, being on the outside and away from the person. And if the person's getting really close, being able to keep your hands up so you're not getting struck with hard punches over the top.
Happened right here at the Chevron gas station on Azalea Road. A woman was trying to walk inside this store when a man just walked up to her and started attacking her last night, and it all was caught on that camera.
A surveillance camera captured these terrifying moments of a rough robbery outside of a Chevron gas station. A Mobile woman ambushed, grabbed, and then eventually thrown to the ground.
For it to be right around the corner from where
it almost looks like he's done some wrestling. Again, awareness is important and it happens so quickly. But if you watch the man's body language right as he is approaching her, you can tell he's about to attack her. He's crouched down, he's in a position that's not natural for someone who's just walking by someone. But you will only recognize that if you trained your eyes to see that. She seems to be in her own world. And again, you're not gonna be able to stop the attack from happening. That's up to him, right? He's deciding that. But you can get into a better position and try to avoid him from getting to the position where he's at, where he's lifting her. Once you've been lifted, you can see the position that she's in. If you've done Krav Maga, or you will see it under the training that we do, when you're being lifted, she has the opportunity to wrap the leg and lessen the impact if you get thrown. He kind of switches his grip because she is fighting back to a certain degree. And you can see even for a bigger male, it's hard to keep a smaller female up if they're being squirmish and moving. But as you can tell, she's lucky that she lands on her back. I'm sure it wasn't comfortable and asked for, but that she didn't hit her head, right? When he goes to what almost looks like a fireman's carriage or a kind of a double leg where he's dumping her to the side. It's really important to get your hands up to protect your head. But again, getting your hips away from the attacker so that you can't get lifted, and continue to strike, headbutt, bite when she's so close as she is, and try to get him to stop thinking about what he's trying to do to you so that you can focus on what you're doing to them. From what I'm hearing in the video from the witnesses or the people that work there, it's a rough area, right? And they're saying that, oh, but it was very lit up. Light doesn't mean anything. Light doesn't mean that you're not going to be attacked. A lot of attacks happen in the middle of the day. What's important to look at is the area. There's been several crimes happening in that area. Maybe you try to avoid that gas station. Maybe you look for another gas station in that same area, and even if it's lit up at night, try to go during the day when maybe there's less crimes at the time. So those are things that you should look at when you pull up to a gas station as well. Are there a lot of homeless people or people that just don't look like they're there to buy groceries or fill up the car, and perhaps choose a different gas station instead?
And grabs another man from behind, throws him to the ground, and tries to rob him. That victim now speaking out to Eyewitness News. Reporter Marcus Solis has a story from the University Heights section of the Bronx.
The assault was sudden and violent. A 64-year-old man wrestled to the ground and dragged down a hallway, pulled by the gold chain that his attacker was trying to steal.
Lo que me sorprendió que yo no pude reaccionar.
He surprised me. I couldn't react, says Andres Pichardo, who is still nursing a sore knee. The bruising to his neck includes marks created by the links of the chain. My back, my mouth hurt, my neck was raw, he says. Pichardo eventually went to the hospital to be checked out. The attack happened around 5:30 last Thursday on University Avenue. Pichardo had just opened a vestibule door when he was jumped. He hadn't seen the surveillance video released by police as the NYPD appeals to the public for assistance. Nicholas Pichardo is the victim's cousin.
It's terrible. That's believe me, when I saw the video,
So when you look at the video, it looks like the man has him from behind when they're coming through the door already, which means, again, a surprise attack, but there's not much you can do to foresee it. Again, if you have an opportunity as you're walking into a door, to an apartment complex, to the mail room where it seems like he's walking into, just look for people around. Not always going to work, right? If he's approaching from behind, he's hiding somewhere where you can't see him. But if you do see people that seem to be out of place, shouldn't be there, maybe you come back later on, maybe you walk a different way, maybe you wait to see if other people are approaching the area so that you can have people around you, which also doesn't mean that they're going to jump in or help you, but you could potentially make the attacker rethink his options. Once you're on the ground, you've seen me upset in the past when people are teaching the wrong defense for how to protect against strangulation from behind with some type of tool. In this case, the gold chain becomes that tool. He's lucky that he's on his back, so it's not choking him. You see the marks on the back of his neck, but if he would have been face down, not only is the gold chain so strong that he can't pull it off, they can't get it off his neck, but it can now turn into a tool that you can actually use to choke someone. And it's important to understand that. In this case, he's trying to rob him and he can't get the chain off, but a chain like that, if it's thick enough, can be used as a strangulation tool as well. The most important thing to do in this case is to, again, avoid your head being slammed to the ground so that you can stay awake. That's number one. Number two, it's going to be hard from here when he's behind you to turn yourself to face him, because he has the chain that's pulling back, right? So get a grip off the chain. If you're feeling that it's about to break and you can help break it, let them have the chain and get out of there, right? But use your hands on one side to get the chain so it doesn't strangle you, and try to get to your knees so the person isn't above your head, because if he decides to let go and start stomping to the head, it's going to be a bad day, right? And then from here, if you can't rotate your body around so your feet are between you, turn around, so you're going to be face down for a second, right? But you're going to be able to get to your knees and potentially even go drive forward, because the chain is only going to be able to be used as a choking mechanism or control grip if the person has tension in it, right? So if you're approaching with the chain, if you can turn and approach him, this can't be used anymore, right? And again, if you can get it off, or even get it over your head so they can get the chain, right? Give up materialistic things and live to see another day. In this case, he was able to survive with minor injuries, but again, nothing materialistic is worth your life. So clearly not a great criminal as far as not knowing what he's doing. He's jumping out of the elevator, jumping back into the elevator, wiping down the elevator buttons, being concerned about fingerprints, but it's just been grabbing on his faces in the video in the elevator. However, when you see him getting into the elevator, and there's a lot of attacks that happen to women in elevators because there's a confined space, there's only one exit, and the person in the elevator knows that he has X amount of time, the criminal has X amount of time before you get to the next floor. And, if the door opens and closes, a full elevator ride when you're by yourself potentially. So it's hard here because a big black blob covering the girl, so it's hard to see exactly what she's doing. I feel like they could just blur out the face, but you can see he's approaching. Her hands automatically or immediately come up to here, not up to protect her face, down here, which is very common when people get scared, but we want to keep our hands up here. Luckily, he's not punching, but say he's trying to grab her. It seems like he's trying to grab her items, as in robbing her first, and then it looks like he's trying to rope her as well. It's hard to see, but especially when he's grabbing for things. One, if it's just materialistic things, give it up, let them take it, have it, and let the police look for them later on. But again, if it's more of a sexual attack, or if it's something that, it looks like he's grabbing for the bag, but if it's grabbing you, trying to pull you, right, to fight back. When the doors open, she does the right thing by getting out of the elevator, and then he gets out of the elevator and she gets back into the elevator, which is not good. Don't go back into confined space. The only thing that's good about this is that there's video footage of it, but don't ever go back into the confined space. If you're in an elevator, once you're outside of the elevator, presumably there's going to be more people there, right, versus inside, especially if you're being loud and screaming. And then he jumps back into the elevator. So, he's clearly he hasn't planned this crime out very well. And then she gets out, which is great. Don't stay in there with him. Get out of there. Fight back. She seems like she falls to the ground a little too easy, as in she could have stood her ground more, but when fear paralyzes you, it happens very easily. You're not expecting it, and your balance, that's again talking about your fine motor skills when adrenaline is pumping. Something as simple as just having a good base, standing properly, becomes difficult. So it's important to bear that in mind as well. And the only thing that you can do to prepare for something like this is stress training and aggression training so that you can fight back. And again, in this case, she was lucky. He wasn't good. He didn't try to take her with, right? But when it comes to sexual attacks and so on, it could have ended much worse.